Today I'm excited to share with you guys our living room reveal, and I want to thank Quince for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so I am more than excited to take you through the transformation that we made here in our living room, from it being completely empty to completely done. Now I say completely done, there's definitely a couple more things I kind of want to look for, like an antique store, for some like art on the wall and maybe some end tables, but I just love it. I can't get over how beautiful this room looks. My husband did such a good job with it. I showed him a picture of a couple of different things that I wanted to do in this room, and he brought it all to life. And I took clips all along the way, and I actually have a list here in my phone of kind of like how we went through it and like what we did first. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of like walk you through and just do this whole living room reveal. So this room, when we moved in, was a completely empty slate, just a room with white dove on the walls, all just drywall, and plain beautiful hardwood floors. And it's a really small, cozy room, and so I knew it would be so fun to decorate, because when we took on our kitchen, which if you guys haven't watched that video, go back and watch my last video. I did a whole kitchen reveal. It's like attached to my dining room, so it's this whole big room of like kitchen and dining, and so it was a little bit harder to kind of like think through of what I wanted to do with the design and how to tie the two rooms together, because it is one large room. Now this room is smaller, and so it felt way easier and more manageable to decorate. So the very first thing we did when we moved in, and we knew that it was one of the first projects we wanted to tackle, was getting our wood stove in our living room, because it's winter, it's really cold here, and I love a cozy fire. It's going right now. In fact, most days I'm walking around like a tank top because it's so warm in here, and there's like snow and like freezing weather outside, and it's just my favorite. I love it. And so the very first thing my husband did was tile the hearth pad. We decided to use black on the hearth pad and tile it in a herringbone pattern. He did such a great job with it. Later on we had to add trim to it, which I will show you later in this video. So he did that first. We brought the wood stove in, which was not an easy job. It was a really heavy wood stove. I think it's like 500 pounds. So we got that in, hooked up, and we have been using it just right away. But I knew I wanted to do the kitchen first, and when the kitchen was done, I knew we would tackle this room. So the next thing we did was we hung a light. The first light in this room was just like a bulb, because we knew that we weren't gonna get the light up right away. So we just put a bulb there for like a temporary light. So we hung a really simple, I say simple because it's a small chandelier in this room. I love the way that it looks. We already had a sconce on this wall that's like over on this side, and so we had just those two lights here in the room. Now the next thing we had to do was we had to trim out the windows, and that was a pretty big job. My husband already had trimmed the windows in the kitchen, so he knew exactly what he was doing this time. I think we're kind of planning on doing the same style of trim throughout the whole house in every room. And so he started trimming the windows. There are 3 big windows, as you can see behind me, in this room. So he worked on trimming them. After we trimmed the window, we added a wall treatment, and I knew I wanted to do something different from the kitchen. So in the kitchen we did floor to ceiling bead board. I love wall treatments. In fact, I just want to like put them all over the house. Don't tell my husband that, because it's a lot of work, but we'll just do one room at a time. Anyway, so we decided to do shiplap in here, and we bought it. They come in like big 8-foot pieces of wood. Again, it's not like the authentic shiplap, same with the beadboard. We get like the big sheets of it. It's cheaper that way, it's easier to install, and I like the way it looks. I'm sure the other stuff would look even better, but this is looking really great. So we decided to go 4 feet up in this room, and then we knew the rest would be drywall. And so we cut the, when I say we, I always say we, my husband did all of this. I like kind of like tell him the design and like what I want, and then he does the work. So we cut each board in half, so each board was enough for 2 panels of 4 feet. So we installed shiplap around the entire room and then 4 feet up, and then we put the same chair rail that we did in the kitchen around the top of the shiplap, and then we did the same crown molding around the ceiling that we did in the kitchen, and then the same baseboards, which the baseboards are gonna be the same everywhere in the house. They're just like a 1x6. I think eventually I do wanna add like a little, kind of like a little lip on it to kind of curve it in, just so it's not so blunt. But for now, it's just that. So for all of the walls, they got the baseboard, shiplap, chair rail, crown molding with the drywall in between. These are 9-foot ceilings in this house, and so it's 4 feet up of the shiplap, and then obviously 5 feet would be the drywall. So the next big thing to do after getting all of the wood in, which was a pretty big job for my husband, because you know there's lots of measuring, lots of cutting, and then making sure everything fits perfectly, and then there's a lot of like mudding and caulking to get all of your cracks and seams to where they'll be seamless. Next up was painting, and we went with the same Pashmina color that we did in our front living room. Like all the walls are that color. We brought that in here to paint all of the trim. So all of the trim around the window, the crowned molding, the shiplap, and the baseboards, everything got that same color. And it's kind of fun because when I originally picked out paint colors, I picked out a palette that was like a whole house palette, because I have a really hard time deciding on things and like really visualizing what goes well together. And so on this, it was just on Pinterest, I could see like, you know, I think there's like 5 colors maybe, how well they all coordinated. So I'm trying to, as we go room to room and as we like painted things, and if I add color, to kind of like stick to those colors so everything throughout the house coordinates. Doesn't have to necessarily like totally match, but I thought it was fun to coordinate them. And since we kind of had 2 living rooms, I thought it'd be fun. So we have that color in that living room. It's just all drywall. Eventually we'll get in there and probably add some things in there. And then I thought it'd be fun to put that color in here. It's kind of a tannish color, beigey with like a grayish green undertone, I would say. But I really think it turned out really, really pretty. Okay, so after we got everything painted and everything dried, it was time to hang our curtains, and I wasn't sure what kind of curtains I wanted to use in this room. I knew I wanted linen because I love linen. I think I'm gonna put probably linen curtains throughout my whole house, and I like the way that they flow. I knew for sure I didn't want like blackout or anything that's gonna like block too much light, because I love the natural light. And so I was looking on the Quince website, and I found so many wonderful options of curtains on there that I found that I loved. I chose the flax color, and then I took them pretty much all the way to the ceiling, and then they just kissed the floor. So in our house, like I said, we have 9-foot ceilings, but because we have that crown molding at the top, I took them below, like I put my curtain rods below the crown molding just a couple of inches, and then I hung them on there. I decided to add some rings to them to clip on, because I think that makes them hang so pretty and add just such a beautiful touch. So I did that, and I got some rods, and we got the curtains hung. If you guys are looking for curtains or really lots of different things, Quince has a whole line of clothing. They have tons of home products. I have so many more things that I want to purchase, but I'm so happy with these curtains. It's your one-stop destination for high quality essentials across clothing, home goods, accessories, all at affordable prices. I love that their products feel nicer and they last longer while using the highest quality fabrics. Just like my curtains, they're 100% European linen, and I couldn't be happier with the way they look. So be sure to check out Quince by using my link down in the description box below, or scan the QR code here on the screen to shop and receive free shipping and 365 days return. Thank you again to Quince for sponsoring today's video. So after getting the curtains hung, we hung a couple of picture frames. We don't have too much empty wall space with all the windows and the curtains, but I do know that eventually, like over on this wall, kind of like in between this window and the fireplace, I want to hang some type of art. And so I'm gonna keep my eye open for maybe some like pretty art at a thrift store or an antique store. But I had a couple of frames that were in my living room at my last house that we put up on the wall in between these two windows for some family photos. And then it was time to hang our frame TV. So since moving in, I did not want to put the TV up until I knew exactly where I wanted it, because I didn't want to have to move it. And I knew I needed a piece of furniture to go underneath of our TV. And so I have been looking on Marketplace, thrift stores, antique shops, and a few weeks ago I was at an antique store with my sister, my daughter, my nieces, and I found like the perfect piece. It was so pretty. It was painted all black, and we could tell because there were some scratches on it that underneath of the black paint it had this really pretty pine wood color. And so my sister said it'll be a lot of work, but you can use some like citrus paint stripper and get all the paint off. And she's like, this will be like the perfect thing for under your TV. And so brought it home. It was only $30. It's really good condition. I love that there's doors on it, because with the frame TV you have the box that has to sit under it, but you can hide it. You don't need it for the remote to work. And so it was perfect. I'm like, I could put that inside of it. I could put some baskets under it for some toys. I can store some blankets in it. Like, it has lots of storage. And so I brought it home and I started working on stripping this. It was definitely a big job, but it came out so beautiful. I just love the way it looks. I spent many nights in my basement with paint stripper. I wore gloves and was able to get it all off, brought it outside to air out, and then we brought it up to set it where we wanted. Now, we didn't want to center the TV on this wall because of the hearth pad and how far out it comes. We didn't want the TV to like end up in the corner over here, because that's where we had a sconce hanging, and I have been dreaming of making it like a little cute reading corner. And so I knew I wanted room to be able to put a chair or something, an end table, over on this side. So we put it as close to the fireplace as we could. Obviously not all the way up against it, because we don't want anything touching the hearth pad. And we hung the TV just right above the little piece. We just kind of like centered it on that, and I think it looks so perfect right here. And then I had a few things that were just kind of around the house that I used to style this. Now I'm sure I will be switching this out. I can't wait like for different seasons to change it out, adding in real flowers. But for now, I think it looks really nice and added such a beautiful touch to this living room. Now, as far as the furniture goes in this room, we laid down a big rug. Again, it was a little bit hard to like figure out the exact like measurement of what kind of rug we wanted, because so much of the hearth pad comes out into the living room. So we just put a rug on the one side of the living room. I thought about putting a little rug like over on the other side underneath of the chair in the corner, but I might do that later, I'm not really sure yet. So we rolled out a rug pad that has a grip under it, and then put the rug on top. This is a rug that I actually got on Wayfair. I can link it for you guys down below. I really like it. I think it's beautiful. It wasn't extremely expensive. It's cozy. And then we have the same couch that we've always had. We've had this couch since we've moved to our first, or like the house that you guys saw us move to before our rental home. We bought it for our basement down there, and it's actually, we got it secondhand off Marketplace. It's an IKEA couch, and what I love about it, it's the sectional couch, is that you can switch out the covers. So when we moved into our rental home, it was pretty grimy and dirty, so I bought all new like covers for it. They're not expensive, like 200 bucks to put all new like cushions and covers on the couch. They all come off, so they're completely washable, which is also very nice when you have little kids. Now, I ordered some new pillowcases for the pillows that I have on that couch. They haven't came yet. I'll show you those when they come, but I want to get some new pillows on there that kind of match a little better and go better with my style that I'm going for in this room. And then the two red floral chairs that I had in my last house, also the rental house, I wasn't sure if I was going to be using them in this room, but I realized that I had a little extra space on the side of the couch, and then obviously for my little reading corner, and so I set those in there. I think they look beautiful, and I really want to get a couple end tables. I have a couple eyed up on Marketplace, so hopefully I'll be picking those up somewhat soon to put a little cute end table by the red chair by the reading corner, then maybe one between the couch and the wood stove. But I love having lots of different little pieces of furniture. I think it really ties the room and just makes it look complete. We do have a coffee table that my husband built for me for our very first home, and we used it in all of our houses, but we both decided that we think we want to do no coffee table in here because it just is so nice to have an open area. Like I said, the living room isn't very big, and our little boys love playing on the floor with blocks and cars and Lincoln logs and building train tracks, and so I kind of want to have an area that's just open for them to be able to play whenever we're hanging out in this room or even in the kitchen, because it's right off the kitchen. So I think we decided that we're gonna do no coffee table just to leave that area open. All right, so I think that kind of walks you through the very beginning to the end. This project only took a couple of weeks. My husband worked on it a little bit each day, and I couldn't be happier. I just love the way it turned out. It looks like a dream living room to me. I just sit there and stare at it, and it's so cozy with our fire going at night. And when I turn on the lamp and the little sconce just has this beautiful little light in there, and it's just the coziest little room in our house. So thank you so much for watching and following along with these big reveals. Hopefully I'll have more rooms to show you. The next room that we are working on is my daughter's room. We are doing something really fun in there, and I'm going to be documenting it and showing it to you. And then I'm not really sure what's after that. I think my husband wants to start going through and just trimming out windows and adding the baseboards, because we have all of that material here. And then maybe we'll come back into some rooms and add more. I'm not really sure, but just knocking out a little bit at a time. So thank you guys so much for watching and watching all the progress on our home, and I'll see you all in the next video.